LASSO'S Passions channel. I'm Oklahoma's India tour. I've been awarded many film awards here. I'm an independent filmmaker. I do all sorts of stuff. For some of those who know, you know. And I'm just hanging out this Saturday afternoon. I just finished lunch. I had leftovers from, my brother invited me out to go eat at Outback and fine place, fine restaurant, very good food. I recommend it if you haven't gone yet. A little pricey, a little on the pricey side of things. He had a gift card, so that usually helps with things. I decided to come on here just to hang out and just to see who's on here and, kind of talk back and forth, joke around a little bit as we usually do. I like to reflect on the week that I had. I like to go back and think it was a solid week. I did a lot of stuff that was productive. One thing I'm starting to do is I'm starting to do the movie reviews, and that's going pretty well. I'm noticing that the more movie reviews I do, the more my understanding of movies come together. Like I have a decent amount of time studying script writing and movies and this and that and filmmaking, working on movie sets and this and that. And it's like like I said, the more I do these movie reviews, I feel like I'm starting to see the mechanisms at play, with the movies. And I've always had an understanding of them and whatnot, but when you put them to the test, when you're studying other movies, it really you start to really hone in on those skills. And so that's one thing that I am really enjoying, and I hope that people are enjoying the movie reviews. I try to do a decent movie review, but not just a movie review, but I try to do a whole outline of the movie, and that's what's really helping me hone in those the understanding of the mechanics at play there with movies and story structure and all that. So, and also with like watching movies and whatnot over and over, you get a good sense of cinematic framing, so not just the cinematic storytelling but cinematic framing. Hello, how's it going? Cloudly Y2Y, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. I'm just spitballing here and going over kind of my week. It was pretty productive, and and there's some few things, a few hiccups that I didn't get to do. Like for instance, the music video. The music video, we only have one more day of shooting, and we were planning for this week, but weather turned bad. Then I was waiting for a friend to be available, and it turns out like, you know, he's not available. So it's been a hard week. We just have one more shooting of to do. Hey, what's up, Katie? B7H, how are you doing today? Hope well. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. I think yesterday I did a live read of The Little Prince, which is also available on my channel. You can go through that. Um, and The Little Prince was actually oh, good to hear, Katie. Good to hear. And any of you feel free to start a conversation. I'm always down to have a little talk and chat with you all. Um, but The Little Prince was actually a gift I got for my birthday. It was on November 16th, and I got a lot of gifts, a lot of fun gifts. I didn't ask for anything, you know. The only thing I asked for was a tres leches cake. It's something that I get every year. It's a staple. It's a must. You're good with what you. What? How are you? Oh, I'm fantastic. You know, I'm really good. I was sick for a while. It was a nasty virus I picked up during a haunted house. I did a haunted house in October, and on the last day, right when we finished, like it all just like cut up to me. I was working really hard. Putting in my time, building it up, and doing the acting in the haunted house, and it caught up to me. And I was sick. I was sick for a good 2 weeks, and like it took almost like another week just to start to feel normal again. And it was bad. It was bad. It was I was in bed, I want to say for like 4 days straight. I mean, I couldn't move. I was just very ill. And I didn't have fever or anything. I just couldn't move. Like I was just exhausted. Again, I don't know if it's because of the haunted house. I put in so much time and effort into that. But it was a kind of cold, a virus or something that I got that I haven't really experienced. It was a very strong virus, and it took a lot for me to get well. Taking the usual stuff, chicken soup. Um, uh, I was drinking Marilax, I think it's called, and some other medications like over the counter. And the best thing that was the best thing for me because I had like cold chills, and so I had this electrical uh, warming blanket that I had, and it was the best thing because I think that did the trick. It says that like fevers are actually kind of good in the sense that it kills your virus, and so I wanted to be hot as possible, and that really helped out. It helped out during that time I was just completely down. Um, but finally overcame it. I did notice a lot of people were sick, getting sick around the same time. It was pretty crazy. But everyone seems to be fine, pulling through, and I'm happy to hear that my friends are doing better as well. My brother was also sick for a minute. He's well, and so all is well. All is well. And after I got better, I started, hitting. I couldn't do a lot of YouTubing when I was sick, so that was kind of disappointing. But now that I'm back, I've kind of shifted gears, and like I was saying before, I got into doing movie reviews, and it's just a newfound joy that I just discovered that I should have been doing years ago, and because it's filmmaking is a passion of mine. I went to college for it. I've been on movie sets from indie films to like the biggest Hollywood movie sets you can think of, all here in Oklahoma, and and so it's kind of a newfound joy that I have. And but Katie, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well and better. you know um and everyone who's been sick, it's not a fun thing to go through, not a fun thing at all. I was puking, I had this nasty cough. Yeah, it was bad. um but much better now, much better. And so I've done so far. I think I've done like 6 movie reviews, and I have a playlist dedicated to movie reviews. So if you ever want to check those out, you're welcome to. I've just recently announced the next 3 movies I'm going to review next week. And what I do for movie reviews, I do it every other day. So my plan is to do one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'll do that. And the movies I'll be reviewing, which were all great by the way. I watched them all already, and I thought they were all good in their own way, all the genres that they fit in. So I'll be doing the movie Brick, which is a Netflix made film. It's a foreign film actually. It stars somebody, I forget his name, but he's been in a few movies that have come out. That he's really good. He's a really good actor, surprisingly, and he seems to be doing really well. But Brick, yeah, is a very it's got like an escape room feel, and it's just the whole how they did it is just, in my opinion, genius. And then the next movie after that I'll be doing is The Wrath of Becky. Now, if you haven't seen The Wrath of Becky, I highly recommend it. It's got a bit of a, a dark humor to it, but it's different, and that's why I like finding movies that are different. And this is definitely one that sticks out as a film that's different. And The Wrath of Becky is exactly that. I think they made 3 movies with that character, and The Wrath of Becky is, I think, is the second one. And and it's just this teenage girl who has been through, in like in the first movie, been through a lot of violence because these Nazis wanted to steal something from her dad. It's a key that holds coordinates to some location. Anyways, in the second movie, Wrath of Becky, there's it's really funny what they did. They totally switched gears, and this time the people that attacked her were these like, I don't know what to call them. They're the kinds of people that are like extreme right people, like radical right, and they're planning an insurrection. And she somehow gets in the middle of this because they attack her and whatever, and she like kicks their asses. And it's so entertaining. It is so entertaining. I don't want to give anything away. If you get a chance on Netflix, watch The Wrath of Becky. I think you will enjoy it. Um, and the third movie I'm going to do is Vacation, which is, I forget his name, but it's the guy who was in The Hangovers and The Office, and he did a really good job. It's a really funny movie. It's a funny movie. I thought maybe it would be a hit. I mean a miss, but to me they nailed it. And Vacation is like kind of a reboot of the old Vacation movies that were made back in the day. And so these are three movies I recommend. If you're feeling like a night in and you have Netflix, I highly recommend these three movies: Brick, The Wrath of Becky, and Vacation. And so I've been having a lot of fun doing that. I've been having a lot of fun doing that, and I have a few announcements for those. Probably not a whole lot of people would be interested in this, but I'll say it anyways. uh, the My film festival. It's called Stay Gold Film Festival. Is coming up to its regular deadline, December 24th, I believe. I think I set it for Christmas, or yeah, Christmas Eve or Christmas, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the film festival. I usually do it every year in May, and yeah, so I'm building up to that. And as well, I run something called the Indie Showcase, which is a showcase of short films and scripts done by people in Oklahoma. And so I last year I did three events per month, and so that was a pretty big deal. And then so sadly I had to end my relationship with the coffee houses I was doing them with, because people were starting spreading rumors about me, and they heard some things, and I pretty much got banned from the coffee shop and this other place called Circle Cinema. But to no avail, because like I said, I'm still going, and I don't do them as much, but I still do local events showcasing the works of local people. And I moved to another theater. It's a really cool theater, and I collaborate with these guys so much. This year we've done so much, including the haunted house. Um, but this year, yeah, it's a family-run theater, and they're super friendly. They're super supportive of local artists and filmmakers, things like that. Even comedians, bands, even they have so many events supporting local people, which they do a way better job than the other theater I was trying to collaborate with. The other theater, they have pretty much their noses up their butts, to say it politely. They're just very into themselves. They're very nichey. They're very I don't know. They're just very close-minded, I shall say, and they're very close-minded about when it comes to supporting locals. Um, and they have like this. They champion one filmmaker who has done well for himself. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to promote him, but in my mind, he's kind of what I call a silver spoon filmmaker. Everything's just given to him. He gets all the grants. He gets everything. I'm saying he gets everything somehow magically. I don't know how, but he gets it all. He even went to Sundance and all that. And I guess the air of reputation can get you far. And to tell you the truth, he isn't that great of a filmmaker. But when everything's handed to you, it can definitely create the air that you are good. But he's not that great. He's pretty average, if you ask me. But no, nothing against him. Just being critical and being truthful. And overrated is definitely a word to be used there. A definitely overrated filmmaker. Um, but enough of that. I'm looking forward to. We did reschedule the music video shoot, and like I said, I have one more day of shooting to do, and then after that, it's just editing. And I'm hoping that I can finish the editing by the end of this month, so that way it's released in December. Pretty excited. I've never done a music video that was so thought out, and there's a lot of it took a lot of time to film it, a lot of effort, a lot of locations, and it's not just a band playing. A band playing, okay, it's redundant, We get it. We like to see the band play, but we wanted to do something different. And I was talking to the artist, and which is my brother. I'll just say it's my brother. He hired me to do it, and thankfully, because it's been a while since I've shot anything, and for a filmmaker to go on, I went on for a couple of years not shooting anything, and that's really tough. That's really tough when you're a filmmaker and you don't have anything to shoot. But yeah, I'm really excited because it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and I'm hoping that it gets out there. I think he's gonna promote it, and so I think people are gonna like it. I think people will like the music. It's actually decent. So a lot of work went into the music. A lot of work went into the music video. So I think it'll be I don't know. I don't know if a home run, but pretty close to a home run. Um, and uh, and one of my goals this year was to you know reach that goal, that first goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I've been working on that all year, doing all kinds of things. Gardening was one of them. You know, what else? I did like these discussions on different topics. What else? Just all kinds of stuff. Animal videos, all kinds of stuff. Even art, theater stuff that I did. I was in a play this year. So, it's called Lasso's Passions for a reason. I'm just following my passions, and I've been really expanding like what that is, what that entails, and how much work I put into it. And I've read 21 books this year. The Little Prince was the 21st book of the year. There's one more book I want to read. It's some of you might actually enjoy it because it's a book on basically going viral, and like on social media, YouTube, whatever. It's a really in-depth book on how to really use YouTube to get far, and because a lot of people have a dream of quitting their jobs and making money off of YouTube, but it's a lot easier than said than done, for sure. Um, and I've been through the trials and errors of this. I don't have the professional gear, all this. I don't have a lot of money to invest in this to make it good, as far as like compared to the other channels. And I don't really focus on politics. I don't focus on sports. So those channels get a lot of views, commenting on that. But it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult task to build the channel solely on your passions, and I'm figuring it out. So it's been a lot of fun. And I'm hoping to reach my goal this year. And with your guys' help, I'll definitely get there. I think the last time I checked, I was at 977 subscribers. I try to bring something interesting to the table every now and then, and I like to talk to people. So if you're tuning in, please feel free to comment below whatever you want to talk about. I'm definitely here to talk to you about it. There's this one fellow named Krishna, and he's been following me for a long while. He's from India, and we talk about a lot of stuff. He was in a bit of a bent situation, and he says just talking to me online on through YouTube, he's been able to just feel like he's got a brother that he can rely on. And I told him, like, I'm your brother, bro. I'll be here for you if anybody feels like they need someone to talk to. I'm here for you. I'll listen to you. I'll read the comments, whatever you want to say. I've had some people come in here, crack wise jokes and that, but it doesn't bug me. I'll joke with you. I don't mind. I know I have a pretty serious tone right now, but I'm pretty jokey. I can get jokey. I've gone online and just joked around and just being silly and whatnot. But there is a seriousness to pursuing this, and to pursuing all the crafts I've been doing this year. Acting on stage, the filmmaking, writing the book. I got this book that I published this year, which was a task in itself. So every month I try to do something creative to push my limits and push myself and all that, my talents, and see where I can take them. So, including the paintings, I did paintings every now and then. There's a celebrity type comedian that comes in, does stand up, and I do a painting of that comedian, and I go out and like I introduce myself, I show them the painting. I tell them it's for the local theater that's like, been struggling and whatnot. And so far, I have, I believe, 12 paintings, and I believe seven of them are signed. Um, the other ones I couldn't get. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Depends on security, depends on if I'm able to get through. It depends on many factors. Usually, if I get to the celebrity, they're always like, yeah, no problem. They're always up for it. But if I can't get through security, then, you know, tough luck, But most places were really good about it. They were like, "Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, we'll ask the guy and see, or gal, whatever, and see if they'll do it." And most of the time, they say yes. But that's if the security actually goes out and talks to the person. Sometimes they don't. They just say straight up, "No, sorry, we're not going to let you do this." But we think the painting's cool. So, hit or miss on the paintings. So I've been very lucky to have met a handful of celebrities this year. And me being such a film guy, film nerd, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal for me. It's like when you're a kid and you go to Disneyland and you meet like Mickey Mouse and whatnot. It's kind of the same thing, but it's like with celebrities. Oh yeah, Steve, Steve F1H8X. Always, I'm always grateful for my parents. We have a good relationship. They take care of me. I take care of them. I've kind of spoken a little bit about it. My dad has Parkinson's, and it's been a real struggle to see him kind of spiral down. It's really tough. My mom has some health issues as well, and I'm actually glad that I am around to help them out and to do things for them. It's not always easy for them. Hey, welcome, Steve. Welcome, welcome, welcome for sure. My name's Lasso. Let me introduce myself. I'm a award-winning filmmaker and artist, and I've been in Oklahoma for over 20 years. And this year, I celebrated my 25th anniversary as a independent filmmaker. So it was a big year, and I wanted to go with a big boom this year. I was on stage acting. I had my own film festival that was pretty decently successful. Yeah, here locally, I've won film festivals in Oklahoma. I don't venture out of Oklahoma very much. In 2010, I won the India Tour Award at Barebones Film Festival. Barebones actually celebrated their 25th anniversary as a filmmaker, as a film festival as well, and so it was really cool to celebrate my 25th and their 25th, and the in all the events I've been doing around town, the short film screenings of local work and whatnot. I did it at a coffee shop here in downtown Tulsa called Gypsy, and they actually celebrated their 25th as well. So it was a lot of fun. It was like a trifecta of 25th anniversaries, And I'm the only Oklahoman in the state to win that award. There's plenty of filmmakers, but I've been the most consistent making works, independent movies. My 17th feature independent movie is going to be coming out soon on YouTube, and it's called Stray Kids. It took me 15 years to make on my own. I didn't have support, nothing like that. I had to kind of create my own team and start from nothing. I don't have gear, nothing like that. It started with a script, started with meetings and meeting with people and convincing them that to do this and that. It was all volunteer work as well. I'm not a person of money, so it was all people who wanted to help out and wanted their name on the credits and whatnot. So my promise to folks is that once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to release Stray Kids on YouTube on my channel for people to watch. Um, it was a hard one to make. It was with some people, a few filmmakers have seen it. They call it a very ambitious film. I would say that's correct. It's a very ambitious film. It's a homage to movies like The Outsiders, Rumblefish, Mean Streets, The Warriors, all those like older movies that I watched as a kid and really have an infinite appreciation for. And I got very lucky and that I worked on the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring a bunch of well-known people and whatnot. The crew was like the best of the best in the industry, so I got to be a little fly in the wall during that production. And so for me, it was a moment of like, wow, I'm here. I've in a way made it, sorta. And just to be able to watch Scorsese work was it was like one of those moments where you go, wow, I'm this little nothing director from Oklahoma. I get to watch Scorsese work. It was inspiring. I got to see how everything, the whole production works. It was a huge production, the biggest production by far I've ever worked on. And I was in Pahuska, uh, working the sets and whatnot. And I was actually, I didn't have like the typical job as a PA on that one. I'm usually working as a production assistant. On that movie, I was actually a COVID PA. I was in charge of. It felt stupid to be honest, but like I said, I was lucky to be on it, and it's basically a hall monitor for COVID related things. And during lunch, I was in charge of setting up the separators on the table, putting up cones so people will stay like 6 feet apart, making sure people had their masks, make sure people had what do you call it, the stuff to clean their hands. The whole set was divided in three sections: section A, B, and C, and you had only like if you're in section C, you can only go to B, and you couldn't go further than that. If you were in B, you can go to A. If you were in A, you can go to B. So it's kind of those things to try to keep people divided and from like trying to contaminate each other and whatnot. Um, so it was one of those things, and like I was saying earlier, I did all sorts of stuff this year to just kind of celebrate the arts. My 25th anniversary, the arts. I taught art classes. My biggest class was 60 people, which was the challenge, but I had a lot of fun doing that. I was on a stage play, did my film festival, I did the haunted house, I did all the artwork. I was actually nominated at it's called Mayfest. They do it here in Tulsa every year, and I was nominated as one of the Mayfest artists, which was really cool, an honor. And then I published this book this year. It's on Amazon. It's an inside look to the Oklahoma independent cinema. Many interviews. I think about 14 to 15 people I interviewed. One guy, they're all successful in their own right as independent filmmakers, but one guy specifically had a very lucky break. He worked on a script where he had no idea at the time, but the movie itself, when it's called Boneyard, and it went to he had no idea, right? The production only tells you so much information, but later on they told him, or he saw through the advertising that it was going to star Mel Gibson and 50 Cent. So he had a pretty big break on that, working on that script. Maybe I should work on that. Maybe I should work on the description. But yeah, this is my 30-foot trailer, and I haven't worked on the any film any film related thing for 2 years. I've been unemployed for 2 years, and tried. I've tried looking for jobs. I refuse because I've done it before. I refuse to get a restaurant job or whatever. I've done it before, and now I refuse to do it. I have too much on my resume to to go down. I was a ghostwriter for 4 years. That was awesome. So I'm just kind of getting a feel. Like I freelance a lot of stuff. That's how I make my money. I'm just trying to either start my own business or figure it out. I mean, I have been working on my resume, and I'm trying to get a very like decent job that's like 50K a year. And if that's what I'm aiming for, I'm not going to back down from that. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'm hoping to get something like that next year. And if it takes another year, then it takes another year before I get a job like that. But I've been really, this downtime, I guess you can call it, or this time away from employment, I've been, and I don't have any benefits. I don't have employment benefits. I don't have SNAP. like I said, I freelance a lot of things. I'm able to make money that way, and I live with my parents. I don't have bills of any kind, really. And because I'm in the lowest low of low as far as making money. There's insurance covers me. I have an insurance that covers a lot of my medical bills and whatnot. And what else? Yeah, but there's just stuff I can't qualify for because most of my work has been film related, and like employment office doesn't count that. They don't count that as a real job. Um, so I've just been kind of out of luck with that. But like I said, I have a very what do you call it? A symbiotic relationship with my parents. They help me, I help them. Um, they obviously need the extra pair of hands, and I'm their son, so of course I'm gonna help them, and of course they're gonna help me. So you know, I'm very lucky to have that. I know a lot of people don't. I recognize that. So but I'm in a pickle because also a lot of people don't struggle with the fact that you know they've you know I'm gonna say not all. I bet a lot do, but I feel like most people don't suffer the artist path. The path of an artist is usually a long, poor path, and until unless you break in, unless you break out. And for me, I just haven't been lucky. I haven't been lucky. Doesn't matter how talented I am and how much I pour into things. I just have not been lucky in that sense. But in my soul, I cannot do it. You can't force me to not do the stuff that I do. Like my soul begs me to do it. And so anytime I get a job and I quit doing the art stuff, I've actually gone to cancer. And I think it directly relates to the fact that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so so now I have I've done it 3 times because I've in a lot of ways I've walked away from doing what I'm supposed to do 3 times, and I truly believe that's why I got the cancers. Um, and so now I live healthy. I eat healthy. I mean, I've always eaten healthy. I guess when I was a kid I ate more candy and junk food, but when I'm not doing what my soul begs me to do, I feel like I'm off track. I feel like I'm just not. It's hard to explain. That's why it's hard to explain when you're not an artist, when you don't have that calling to be an artist. And I've even spoken to other people who work in the film industry who aren't really artists, but I would consider acting part of the art industry. Like you are an artist. But I've spoken with Gary Busey, and I've said, I've asked him before. I was like, so, why did you go into acting? Like, what was it, a calling? Was it a vocation? Because I've always felt it was a vocation for me. Like it was a calling for me to do acting, to do film, to do the art stuff that I do. And so he just straight up said no. He said no, it wasn't anything like that. So I was like, that's interesting. You know, um, but some people just don't care for art. They don't care. I guess they're either narcissistic and they, you know what I'm saying, they look at it from a business perspective and whatnot. And acting is a very serious business. I mean, you have agents, you have managers, you have to hustle for to audition, and it's a very you're constantly looking for a job all the time, and it's a very rough road. I dedicated myself to auditioning for 3 years straight, and I got a few things here and there, but it was never anything that led to me breaking out. And in a lot of sense, this music video that I've been working on for like a month, I'm hoping that it could be part of my breakout. You never know. You never know, right? I've done a lot of stuff this year, and I'm not ever expecting to break out in any manner. I'm not expecting anything to fall in my lap like, "Oh, you're a good actor. Let's get you hired on a movie." I've actually had many people tell me that. I've had directors tell me that I'm a good actor. We need to get you on something. I've had that told to me so many times and nothing ever happens. And the truth is I can never rely on just magically getting a job in acting, or somebody saying, we would love to have you, for this movie. And I just they may say that, but I just don't put a lot of weight into that because from my experience, nothing ever happens. And I've been in a lot of movies as extras too. I was an extra for tons of movies and TV shows, and but like I said, just never had that break. And then when Shia LaBeouf came to town, uh, when he came to town, I actually applied to be his double, because everyone tells me I kind of look like him a little bit. I like people tell me that all the time, and I was surprised I didn't get it. I mean, we're like the same height. I look like him to a degree, and I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get it. I was like, man, I'm like the perfect guy for the job. I just didn't understand. So sometimes you think you're the perfect guy for the job, and you still don't get the thing that you thought is perfect. So and it's too bad. There's a lot of misses in the industry. There's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of people who may not want you to succeed because they have some ill thing towards you, whatever. That's fine, and that's just part of the game. And so I've never been political. I don't try to be political to get ahead. I'm always just going to be me. I'm not going to hide who I am. I have my beliefs, and if that doesn't fly with you, then I guess we're not working together, and that's fine. That's I'm not going to sell my soul to be in a movie, or you know what I'm saying. I'm just not going to do it. So you could say it's partly my fault, but like I said, I'm just not. I'm not going to bend myself to be a different person so that they're okay with me. It's acceptable in their eyes. Oh, a lot of people judge, and I tried not to, but I am somebody I would consider myself somebody who is with the Lord. I consider Jesus my savior, and a lot of people have problems with that. You know, a lot of the industry is based on secular beliefs, and so, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of Christian filmmakers out there that are doing things, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't want to be an actor who does Christian movies because I don't necessarily like Christian movies. I like secular movies. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem acting in them, and doing the part of the character because that's what I see it. I see it as a character. And these secular movies that come out, they always have, they still have a good premise, a good lesson to be learned from those movies. Not all of them, but a good degree, a good amount. Even the ones I've reviewed tons of movies that are would be considered secular, and I think they're amazing, and they have amazing messages. They have really crazy characters, but that doesn't mean like I'm not allowed to play them. It's just a character in a movie. It's part of a story, and stories is what makes, in my opinion, the world go around. That's coming from a filmmaker, screenwriter, actor, artist. This year, in 2000, maybe I should work on my description. But in 2025, this year, it's still 2025. I was actually awarded, not a yeah, I was awarded Indian Tour Ambassador of the Year, and I was actually nominated again to be India Tour, and I'm, I think I made a full circle from 2010 to 2025 to be nominated again is pretty cool. It shows that I'm consistent. It shows that I'm still creating works and putting myself out there. And again, a lot of filmmakers that I know will make one movie and they're done. That's it. They'll make one movie and they're done. Uh, Mainly because of financial constraints, which we all have them. I have them. I have probably the most restraints out there. Like I said, I'm definitely part of the lowest of the lowest. of the lowest class out there, and but I'm lucky, I have my faith in God, and so God provides, and I don't. People may look at my lifestyle and go, "Oh, you're not independent, you're not this," but actually, I'm very independent. I yeah, there's nothing holding me back to not making independent, and try to make good life choices always. But my focus has always been the arts. That's just what I do, and I'm a big reader. I'm a big writer. So this is just the beginning. This year I pushed myself to the limits, and I've accomplished so much this year. I can't say that there's any. I honestly can't say there's anyone in Oklahoma that has done as much as I have in the arts this year. And I'm being sincere and honest about that. I don't think there's anybody in Oklahoma that has done as much as I have, just this year alone. Um, I won an award for best actor, which was great. Um, a bunch of great things, and it's not bragging. It's not. It's to me, it's a testament to my resilience. That even though there's trouble that I'm facing, I'm still going to keep going. I'm not going to quit. And last year was a huge test. This year was a huge test, and I can't even imagine what next year's going to be like. I have no clue because I had no clue to some of the things that happened this year. Sometimes stuff does fall on your lap, and the other times I'm hustling my butt to make it work. And so next year, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I've definitely proven to myself things that I'm capable of. And so to top that next year, I do want to say that 2 years ago, when I did the indie showcase and I was doing 3 events a month and showcasing short films and doing the reading the scripts in the movie theaters and other places and whatnot, uh, was going to be a very hard one to top. And somehow this year I was able to top that. So, next year I'm going to be thinking about how am I going to top this year? This year was incredible, I did so many things. I dedicated myself to so many things every month and was successful in all of it. So next year is I don't know. I don't know how big it's gonna be. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna maybe slow down. I don't know. There's no telling. But I will say I do plan on topping myself again this for next year. Um, but I'm always thankful. I'm always thankful and appreciative of the little things. I'm never in a position where I'm like, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that, or this or that. Um, I'm always just I don't think like that. I don't think like that. I'm always just thinking, wow, we worked really hard this month. We were able to pull through and succeed on the goals that I set myself. And and that's how you honestly that's how you feel successful. You know, People have their own ways of measuring success. Some people use money. Some people use how many girls they go out with. There's a lot of things that I just don't necessarily have any interest in. And for me it's the arts and how well I do and what I produce, and I've done really well this year, really really well as far as that goes. I am thinking about I'm always thinking about around this time, especially we're coming closer to the end of the year and the start of the next year. I'm always thinking about the next like two major goals I want to accomplish. This year, the two major goals I had for myself was to publish a book and hit 1,000 subscribers. Aside from everything else that I did, because I give myself a goal every month to do. I'm thinking next year. I'm setting myself two major goals, which is to obtain a solid job of 50K a year, and the other goal that I'm setting myself, which is going to be tough as well, is to find an agent to represent me and my friend because we're screenwriters. So those are the two major goals. I do plan on writing another book. I've already got it planned out. It's more of a motivational book, and so I'm excited for that. I do plan on working on the third book next year as well, doing interviews because it took me 2 years to 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 get this book all together. There's a lot of interviews in here. It took 2 years to get all together. And it took me, I want to say, I'm not sure how many months it took me to write it, like actually write it out. But it did take me 2 months to publish it. There's a lot of things you have to work out. The art cover, the art on the spine, the editing. There's just a lot to go through to get it published for Amazon. Um, yeah, but overall, yeah, no complaints on my end. I may not be making a lot of money. Hey, I still have money in my pocket. I still make money, and so there's no complaints. I wouldn't consider it a large amount of money. I'm not like, I'm saying I'm not making. The other day I applied for a credit card, and it asks you what your annual income is, and I put $5,000, and the guy goes, "No, what's your annual income?" And I was like, "That is my annual income." I don't make a lot of money, so he was pretty surprised. I didn't get the credit card, but I think it's because I have such low income. But his reaction was priceless. He's like, "No, no, no, put in your yearly income." And I was like, "Yeah, that's my yearly income. I don't spend much. I don't buy new clothes. I don't go shopping. I don't go out to eat. So my biggest expense is buying cat and dog food. That's my biggest expense. They are some very and I love my animals. They're like they eat so much food. Like it's incredible how much food they eat. And I'm not a cruel person. I'm not going to feed my animals, but it gets to a point where they start begging for food. And if I don't give it to them, it breaks my heart. I don't want to see them crying or begging. My cat, if my cat goes a while without eating, he will literally start knocking things off my table. It's the funniest thing ever. Um, and technically, he's not my cat. He's a cat I'm taking care of for a friend that I've had pretty much since March. So my friend had an addiction to alcohol, and I was able to convince my friend to start going to AA meetings. I would take my friend to AA meetings, and it wasn't enough. So they ended up moving to California, where um, they have really good programs for people that suffer from that kind of thing. So she's been part of this program. I want to say, yeah, since March or even April, and her life has turned around completely. And I'm so proud of my friend. Like you have no idea. Like it makes me so happy to see someone going from huge alcohol addiction that was destroying their life to not drinking anymore, becoming Christian, holds a job, makes $4,000 a month. I'm so proud of my friend. And my friend credits me, and of all people, credits me for helping him turn his life around. And that alone is, I think that beats everything. All the stuff that I've accomplished this year, I think that one takes the cake. I mean, that's like the best thing I could have done all year. I actually helped somebody get out of their funk, get out of their addiction. We talk on the phone every day. There's nothing can beat that. So I, it fills my heart. It fills my heart knowing that I was able to do that for somebody. And I've had other friends struggle the same, and I try to help them, but they don't have the will to change their behaviors. They don't have the will to actually stop drinking and smoking. And like, I smoke, but it's not much. And actually this year, another accomplishment I want to say that I am pretty proud of is I actually quit smoking marijuana. I used to be a very heavy marijuana smoker. My puppy's in the background shuffling papers. I don't know if you can hear that. Lolly, come here. Want to say hi to everyone? Come here, puppy. Yeah. This is Lolly. She's the apple of my eye. She's the cutest ever. Mm, Definitely man's best friend. Keeps me company when I don't really, don't have friends around. I don't have a lot of friends anyways. I only have like a handful of friends that I can really call friends. I got Rudy. Him and I have been script nerds for over a decade. Jake, who's an animator, I went to TU with him. TU is another thing that I got lucky because it was mainly scholarships, and obviously my parents helped me out financially, but it wasn't much compared to other people. Other people got in like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I think I got to $20,000 in debt, which I think I still owe 13. Um, but I did the field program at TU, at University of Tulsa, where I think out of any student that went, I have done more than any student has ever done at the university. No one has done as much as I. I mean, I was in the film lab day and night. And it got to the point where the theater program caught wind of what I was capable of, and they did two shows. We did two shows together, me and the theater program. They wanted to project onto the stage actors and different things, and so we would spend a lot of time filming some of those things using green screen. And so the two shows I did, which took a lot of filming, took a lot of work. Uh, Rocky Horror Show was one of them, and Rocky was it? Yeah, Horror Picture Show, and then the other one was 1984. Those are the two plays I did, green screen stuff that they were able to project. I think rear projection and front. They did. It was spectacular work. If there's any job I could have in the world, it would be that job because I had a lot of fun working the green screen, doing the editing, setting up times to film and all that. It was a great time, and I came through both times, and I got paid. I got paid about $4,000 for each one. So, like I said, I don't think there's any student at TU who has done as many films as I have as a student, and on top of that, worked on these theater productions who and get paid for them. My little puppy's making noises. So, that was a long time ago, though. I graduated in 2018, which 2018 was another great year to remember because it was that year that you get to ring the bell when you graduated. The same day, and this wasn't planned. It just somehow worked out this way. The same day I rang the bell to graduate, that morning before going to TU, and I was actually late to my ceremony. I was at the what do you call it, the Cancer Research Center, because it was my official day to be cancer free, and I rang my cancer free bell, and then went straight to TU to the ceremony, and I rang my graduating bell. So I rang two bells that year. It's a very different thing, a very different thing when you're struggling with cancer and stuff like that. But that's something I like to talk about, to be honest. It's still a very dark time for me going through all that. It started early in my life, and when I was 13 years old, and I had more more of it to conquer until late into my late 20s. So my little puppy's looking for food. She's hungry. I gotta go in and feed her. I get her the good stuff. I don't get her cheap food. She's very picky. She won't eat the cheap stuff. Hello, Ahmed. How you doing? How you doing this morning? Are you doing well, my friend? Welcome, welcome. If you this is your first time here, but yeah, one thing I did quit was smoking marijuana. I finally quit. I've been smoking that since I want to say I want to say after high school. Um, Actually, my first time smoking out of a bong was in a movie I shot, and it was in 2010. It's called Hatch, and it's actually on YouTube. You can watch it. Um, it's nighttime over there. Where are you at, my friend? Where are you commenting from? Ah, so good. So I should say good evening then. Good evening, my friend. How are you? My apologies. Where are you commenting from? I'm very curious. I get so many people from all over the world. I connected with somebody Middle East. Very good, very good. I connected with a friend here from India. His name is Krishna. He's on. He comes on and talks to me every now and then. I made a friend from Australia. Um, she's super cool. She's like in the whole music scene and helps local musicians and whatnot. Nemsa, Nemxa is her name. So how's the Middle East treating you, my friend? Are things calm and peaceful? I hope. It's always been kind of a bit of a war torn area, huh? Can be, huh? Which is like sad to hear. No, I think at the end of the day, yeah, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it, man. There's a lot of good people all over the world. Middle East is somewhere I haven't visited. I think that would be very interesting to visit. I've been to France, I've been to Italy, Argentina, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Canada, but I haven't really explored that side of the world. I think that would be interesting, very interesting. Um, well, glad to hear it, my friend. Glad to hear that's everything's going good. You're having a good evening and all that stuff. He says, like there is good people, there especially Palestine. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. War is a very, very sad thing. Oh wow, very cool to hear. One of my best friends was Turkish. Here, I'm in Oklahoma. We went to high school together. He was actually my best friend until he moved to New York, and our lives, you know, became different. He's still out in New York, but we haven't talked in a long time. The only word he taught me in Turkish, at least the only word I can remember, if I apologize if I butcher it, but I believe it's marahaba. Did I say that correctly? Marahaba. Does that mean hello? I think, or something like that. It's funny. He even told me that. So we have this big arena here in Oklahoma where like uh, a lot of bands and big artists, even big comedians come in. Yeah, marahaba. Cool. Yeah, it's like the only word I remember. But we had this arena, and it's the BOK Center. And my Turkish friend, BOK in Turkish means toilet. Is that true? Is that true? Does bok mean toilet in Turkish? Which is funny because the arena itself is this round silver thing, and it kind of looks like a toilet. It looks like a giant toilet. Of course, I can't say that because people will hate me for it. I'm not trying to diss our arena, but it's just really funny. I thought that was funny. The Boke Center, the toilet center. So we got Thanksgiving coming up here in the United States next week, and it's one of those holidays. I always look at holidays as economic stimulus for the country, but it's always a you can look at it that way, and but you can also look at it from the point of view of it's a good time to spend time with family and friends, especially family. Muffin and Bloxy, how you doing? I'm actually not vegan. I'm not vegan. Um, I do have a lot of respect for people that are, because that's definitely it takes willpower and choice to do that. A lot of people do it for some of the best reasons, which is they don't like to see animals slaughtered by the thousands. It's a very strange thing. But unfortunately, I'm a carnivore. I have to have my meat. If I don't, I actually get pretty sick. Um, I don't know if it's my blood type, because I went vegetarian for a while, and I just got sickly from doing that. Oh, actually, you're not wrong, my friend. You're not wrong. I love gardening. I love gardening. Um, this half of the year when it was nice. Yeah, I mean, at least I admit to it. I admit to eating meat. But it's mainly like, yeah, I'll eat beef, but it's mainly I stick to chicken and salmon. Salmon is like my favorite. Um, but yeah, salmon is like my best choice as far as what meat I like to eat. Um, but yeah, I did this whole like half a year when it's like really nice out here in Tulsa. I love to garden, and I've done so many gardening videos. I like to share what I do. And surprisingly, we're in more than halfway in November, and well, it was a conscious choice. Like most people, it's kind of like one of those things where you look at any animal and you see that they have some kind of soul going on in there, and so you don't like to. I'm not a person. I'm not a cruel person. I don't like to hurt animals, but I guess in a lot of ways, it's just one of those things where you may disagree or agree, but animals are beneath us in a way. We are above them in some manners of speaking. Um, I'm not saying all animals because there's animals out there like dolphins. They're incredibly intelligent, and all that. And just massive animals out there that are beautiful. And I don't like to be cruel towards animals. I don't. But there is a fact that I and like many others, can't survive without eating meat. Um, and there are some that can. There are some that can go without meat, and I'm not one of them. I've tried it, and it just makes me sick. So, um, yeah. So I couldn't do it. Ahmed says, "Yo, if you ever go to the Middle East and say anything to your like new friend there, you joke about their mother. It's kind of like joking with death." Who's joking about mothers? I didn't joke about mothers. But yeah, I know that the Middle East is they're very serious about their faith. I would say more so with Christians. Christians are kind of wishy-washy a little bit. They're more laid back. I would say, not to insult any Christian, because I consider myself a Christian. Um, but Katie says hi. Hey, Katie, welcome back. Good to see you again. I like to see some of my friends come back. Yeah, I remember you, Katie. I remember you. You were. I was reading The Little Prince, and you showed up, and I always appreciate those who show up. Muffin Blocks, he says, yeah, like we see our surrounding, we get some FOMO, and like we think everyone is doing so. Like in our heart, we really care about them. Still, we can't stop eating. Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing. It's just human nature, I guess. We have right on, Ahmed. Cool, cool. You know, looking forward to for you coming back. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a Bible reader. I believe in the Bible. But there's things that I don't necessarily like. I don't necessarily like going to church, but I do. I don't like being uh preached to like I'm an idiot. Um, and not that they do, but it's like you know I don't like how, just because you're not a preacher doesn't mean that you don't understand, you know, faith and God. And then there's a lot of people that don't. I understand that. But, and I'm not saying I have a master's degree in theology. I don't. But I don't like being, I don't like the theatrics about it. I don't like the theatrics of the whole mass and all that. I just don't like it. I don't like being an audience participation. I would much rather read my Bible alone or read it with a group of friends, and experience the Bible that way, And there's nothing wrong with going to church and being part of a community, but it to me it's just theatrics in a lot of ways, and I just don't like it. I don't like it. And that's just me. That's just me, my cup of tea, for people it works for them, and that's fine. I don't have anything negative to say about people that go to church. If it works for you, fantastic. But it doesn't work for me. There's just something about it that I don't know. I just don't like the whole theatrics about it. I don't like it when a preacher is kind of putting himself above everybody else, and in a lot of senses, sometimes talking down to everybody. But I just I just don't like that. I much rather, like I said, I much rather read the Bible on my own or with a group of friends, and that's my church. That's how I do my church. I try to read interesting things. Katie says hi. How are you? I'm good, Katie. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I just decided to come on here and just talk whatever nonsense there is to talk about. Whatever people comment. I guess we talk about that. And please correct me if I'm wrong in any way. Everybody lives in their own reality in a sense, or their own delusion, whatever you want to call it. I have my own delusions. We all do in a sense. We're all ignorant to a degree. There's just things we don't know. We would like to know, um, but I like to stay humble. I don't think I know it all, but I'm close to 40 years old. I've been through a lot in life, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And I'm never going to to presume that everybody thinks like I do, and presume that everyone has the same lifestyle that I do. I know the world is very um, creative. Everybody's on their own journey, so I'm never going to presume that everyone's thinks like me, right? So I'm not going to think lower of you just because we think differently. Hey, Ahmed is back. So tell us some interesting things about the Middle East. I'm very ignorant when it comes to the Middle East. I would like to hear. I don't know if you don't mind. Just some interesting things. I don't know some things you've seen, experienced. How your life is. Be really cool to just hear about it for a little bit or read about it for a little bit if you're open to it. Don't feel like you have to. Um, I mean, since you're here, since you're here, my friend. But anyways, whoa, that's pretty crazy. A lot of mafia and I almost got kidnapped. Kidnapped. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's just, and I'm sure it happens in in the United States as well, in bigger cities, even smaller cities. I'm sure it happens. You know, there's always going to be. I'm not sure what you call them in your culture, but there's always going to be sinful people, sinful, evil people. You're going to find good people and you're going to find bad people. You know, it's just how it is. I think is the Chinese that came up with the yin yang, which is very interesting. Jordan more than Mexico, man. Yeah, Mexico is pretty bad too about that stuff. But that's crazy, man. I mean, honestly, it doesn't surprise me that much, you know. But yeah, it happens. My uncle got robbed. He's in Argentina. He got robbed at gunpoint. Um, it's scary. It's scary stuff when you hear things like that. Um, it's just, I mean, I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky. I've never had encountered seriously bad people with bad intentions. You're used to it. That doesn't surprise me either. That's kind of, yeah. I imagine. I imagine that it's kind of, yeah. I imagine. You ever thought about coming, or not necessarily to the United States, but you ever thought about going to a different country to to I don't know, either live for a while or I don't know, just something different. You ever thought about that? That's funny though, in a way. Like, nah, I'm used to it. That's crazy, my friend. That's crazy, man. That sounds like a kind of a hard life. I can't complain. I always say I can't complain. I cannot complain. I've been very blessed. Even though I'm not like the richest person, even though I'm unemployed, I still make ends meet somehow, and with the grace of God, and not to disrespect you, Ahmed. I guess Allah is Allah who you consider God. Um, I just thank my lucky stars that you know I thank the universe or the creator of the universe that whoever you want to say who that is. Um, that I've been blessed in certain ways. I've been very lucky, and I recognize that. I've always felt safe. Never, other than getting sick with cancer, I've never had any real issues. So I'm very thankful for that. Very lucky, very fortunate. I guess you could even say privileged. You can say that. I'm okay saying that. You look around the world, and there's a lot of third world countries. My friend from India, for example, he's got a pretty decent life. But if you look around India, there's a lot of people who are in poverty, and they take baths in the river, and there's different things like that all over the world. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but I definitely will say I know that I'm privileged compared to people like that in third world countries for sure. You know, and there's people in the United States who are millionaires, and I think they take that for granted, for sure. Because if I was a millionaire, I would do a lot more to help other people. But I don't know. I think millionaires are very. They're probably millionaires because they don't share their money. They hold on to it, and they're smart. I'm sure they've deserved what they have earned. They've probably worked very hard for it. I'm sure. So I'm not talking bad about them. Um, but I will say, if I was a millionaire, I would probably be doing a lot more to help other people, instead of buying huge houses for myself, instead of buying the fancy cars and this and that. I'm just not that kind of person. I don't need a big mansion. I don't need a Ferrari. I don't. I could care less. About that stuff. Um, but it doesn't mean that people shouldn't have those things. If that's what people want, and that's what makes people happy. Then you know that's what they're going to go for. Everybody has the right to go after what makes them happy. You know, and for me, it's pursuing the arts, pursuing my passions. That's what's fulfilling for me. That's what does it for me. Steve says, "Have you thought of working and giving the money away?" Well, again, I wouldn't just give away all my money. I'm not going to work hard for something and just give it away, right? I expect other people to work hard for their money as well. Um, but I see what you're getting at. Yeah. But I would, if like I said, if I worked really hard and I was a multimillionaire, I would have my house, my car, and make sure I was covered. And then the rest of it, I wouldn't just let sit there. I wouldn't just let it sit there. I would put it to good use. But that's just me. And some people would say, well, that's not financially smart. Well, it's okay. You can't take the money with you when you die. So are you going to let it sit there? And I guess you can pass it on to your children and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I'm the kind of person, and that's not, I'm not saying that people who sit on their money are doing the wrong thing. I'm just saying that's the kind of person I am. Yes, I have worked, and I have, even to this day. The other day, I gave a man who was sitting outside $5, and I have $20. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still gonna give, even if I have less money than a millionaire. I'm still gonna give money, and I have gotten jobs. I've worked all my life, all kinds of hard jobs. I just refuse to do those jobs now because I have too much respect for myself to do those jobs. I know what kind of jobs I deserve. I know what I'm capable of. And those are the jobs I'm looking for. I'm not going to backtrack, you know? I'm not going to backtrack. Ahmed says if you get a Tesla or a Lambo in Zarqa, not consider it stolen. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Hilarious, my friend. Culturally, in Jordan, if you compliment anything, they give it to you. Wow. Wow. So be careful to compliment things. Yeah, some people are like that. I think Italians are kind of like that. I've noticed Argentinians are like that. My mom is like that. You know, if you say you like something, she's like, "Here, have it, have it, have it. You can have it." Like, no, 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 it's yours. It's your thing. I'm just saying that it's very cool, and you know, I'm not saying you know, but some people are just naturally giving that way. You know, they truly give with their hearts. You know, without even questioning anything. You know, I've definitely been around people like that, you know. So I was just thinking that, Steve. I was just thinking that Seinfeld did a show about that. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah, was it the pen, the space pen, right? The episode with the upside down. He's like, "This is a cool pen," and the other guy's like, "It's like, why don't you have it? Like, come on." And he's like mad. He's not mad, but he's kind of like, you know, I had to give my pen away. Dude, hilarious. So actually, I just found out yesterday that Seinfeld's going to be in my town in March of next year. So I'm freaking excited. I'm freaking excited to. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a ticket here, go see a show. Hopefully, it's not $100 because I can't do that. But hopefully, it's like 50 or something. But um, yeah, he's gonna be in town. I look forward to going you know. So I don't know if you heard from earlier. I paint celebrities. Most recently, the last couple of years, they've mainly been comedians because they come to town. They do stand up shows. So I paint them, and then I go see if I can go meet them. I talk to security. I show them the paintings. Usually they're like in awe. They're like, "Oh, this is really cool." And so I explain that the paintings that I do is for a local family-run movie theater that's kind of struggling. And this is something that I do apart from all the things that I do with them to help them stay in business and whatnot. I volunteer a lot of my time, and you know, I like to volunteer. You know, I have time on my hands. You know, I like to volunteer. I feel again a certain amount of fulfillment. I freelance videography. I was a ghostwriter for 4 years. I teach art. I do all kinds of stuff to make money. Uh, and when I'm completely out of money, I'm lucky to have my parents to help me out. It's not very often that they do. And like I said, I don't spend a lot of money. The only money I spend on is food. Yeah, and I agree with you, Steve. I'm constantly working, and work begets work, you know. And so that's just one of the things that I believe in. You know, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm not going to sit around do nothing. You know, I have a lot of respect. I get a lot of respect from people. I helped build the haunted house this last October. You know, I get a lot of respect by people. But like I said, I just haven't found the job that I want. You know, I could easily go back to you know being a termite tech or being a janitor or working at a restaurant. I could always do that, but I've reached a point in age in my life where I would much rather be doing this with my time instead of doing that. And it's never been about money for me, even though money is a necessity. Uh, but I'm looking for those those big jobs that suit my skills. I'm skilled in editing, Adobe Premiere, you know, marketing related things. So I'm looking for a job like that. But yeah, so anyways, the no, 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 I wasn't a ghostwriter. I was a ghost writer. I write for other people. I'm skilled in writing screenplays and books, novels, um, and so I got hired to write books for a lady here in town. So I did that for 4 years. Um, but essentially, yeah. Back to what I was saying about the artwork. Um, it, I it's become a an attraction because I have 12 paintings in the movie theater, all comedians from Pauly Shore, Andy Dick, who else? What's his name? Um, I have a hard time remembering names. Chris Kattan. I even got Hulk Hogan before he passed away. I got him like a month before he passed away. Um, there's a lot of different celebrities I met. I met the guy. I forget his real name. I don't know why, but I met the guy who played Rudy. He was in Lord of the Rings. He was one of the Goonies. I can't remember his name for some reason. I'm pretty bad with names. I got him to sign one. I did a painting of him. So, anyways, you walk into this movie theater. No, I didn't mean to trick you. I think you just misunderstood. That happens sometimes. I didn't mean to trick you, my friend. Um, but ghost writer. I was a ghost writer for 4 years. But yeah, these paintings are they become like a local attraction. People come into this theater and they love seeing the paintings. I've had a few people. Um, no, I'm not a celebrity, but I've been lucky enough to, like I said, meet a lot of them doing the artwork, being on movie sets. I've worked on a lot of movie sets. I've met Leonardo DiCaprio. I've met De Niro, Martin Scorsese, even more celebrities. Again, I don't remember their names. I've always had like I don't know. I've always wanted to meet celebrities, and filmmaking and screenwriting is like my thing, right? The arts is my thing. Acting is my thing, and so it's just like I don't know. It's like I said. It's like when you're a kid and you go to Disneyland and you meet Mickey Mouse. It's like the same thing, but like in the adult world, it's like for me, it's celebrities. I like meeting actors. I like meeting comedians, and you hope that a little bit of their magic rubs off on you. But I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but it's just one of those things I do. I don't know. Some people have their thing. This is my thing, right? So, like I said, Seinfeld will be in town in March, so I'm hoping to do a painting of him, Jerry Seinfeld. There's David Spade. He's going to be in Oklahoma next year. I hope to do a Joe Dirt painting. I hope that he signs it. There's a couple others. This guy named what's his name? Craig. Craig something. He was in The Office. He's like the black guy, the big black guy with the beard in The Office. He's going to be in town next year. So I keep an eye. I keep an eye. Harlan Williams. I don't know if you know who Harlan Williams is. I've actually met him before. Yeah. How do you? Yeah. How do you? Yeah. Let me see your name in Arabic. How do you write it out? I bet it's cool. I bet it's very cool. I've. Hello, Jesus. Wis 001. How you doing? How you doing there? We got a hello Jesus. Oh, you saying hello Jesus because of the beard, or are you just saying hello Jesus? Steve says the cost to see Jerry Seinfeld in person varies significantly, but you can expect tickets to cost from around it doesn't say right to over that or more depending on the venue seat location. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it varies. I'll probably get one of the worst seats that you can probably buy if it's not sold out yet, because I'm sure it goes quick. So I need to look at that. But in most cases, every painting I've done and every time I went to an event, I've never bought a ticket because I can't afford it. They're usually like $100, and I just can't afford it. So I just go with my painting, and the painting itself, it cost me $40 for the canvas, and the paintings. The paints themselves, I buy them in bulk. So we're talking like $20 to $30 for the paints. 100 to 500. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can't imagine ever spending $500 for a ticket. That's just insane to me. I mean, people have the money. Good for them. Good for them. But I don't. That's like $500 for me is like 3, 4 months of food that I could probably get and spend on. Yeah, less, probably closer to three if I make it stretch. But man, yeah, yeah, very fortunate. I don't have anything against people. I'm not jealous of people who have money. I just say, yeah, you're very fortunate. I'm sure you've earned it. A lot of hardworking people out there. You know, I'm gonna figure out my way. I will. I know I will. Whoa! Look at that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, man, that's pretty interesting. I could. That I'm man. For me, I bet that would be a very difficult language for me to learn. Now that I'm older, I know Spanish. I know a little bit of French. But when you start getting to things like this, Arabic, man, that's just, you know, that's something else. Russian, Chinese, that's just something else. A lot of smart people can learn those languages. What about putting for sale signs or some of your paintings? Yeah, I thought about that. I had a somebody offered to buy the painting for $500, and I told them no because the paintings are meant to stay there forever. That's my promise to the theater. That's the promise to the celebrities that I make. But I always tell them, like, if you want to, what do you call it? There's a word for it. Contract or hire me to do paintings. I always tell people, but like I said, I never hear back. I don't know what it is. I've heard people say they want to hire me to act in movies. I never hear back. Want to hire me to paint, never hear back. I don't know. I don't have that luck, I guess. Some people have that luck with money. I don't have that luck, I guess. I don't know. I don't like to think that way, and I don't really think that way. I don't consider myself unlucky. But all right, I'll see you in a bit, Ahmed. What is your, you seem pretty wise. What is your, pretty smart. If you're in my situation, okay, you're an author, you're an artist, you're an actor. Um, what would be your best suggestion to me as someone that could potentially, if I'm looking to make more money, aside from just getting a job, what do you think is the best route? I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot because I'm doing the best I can. But like I said, I think I gotta do what I do, stick with it. Like I said, I've been lucky with teaching art. I've been lucky all sorts of ways. I've made money. I've made money. I can do an event and I'll make $500 from an event. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm not making any money. It's not, and then, so I just think I just gotta stick to what I'm doing and not quit. And that's pretty much anything anyone does in life, right? You see anybody succeed in life, it's because they never quit. So my thing is just I'm just not gonna quit. Well, I don't know. I like to ask people's advice every now and then. I mean, you're right. It's kind of ridiculous to ask somebody random, right? But I don't know. I don't know if maybe you had some insights. Maybe I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. Forget it. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You're right. You're right. Yeah, like I said, I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing, and I think I'll be fine. One of these days, like I always tell people, it just takes one deal, one solid deal, either with selling a script or whatever it is, a publisher picking me up. I mean, just one solid deal, and that's going to change things for me. But so tell me about you, Steve. Where are you from? Are you in the States? Are you in the northern part, southern part? How old are you? This is my book, by the way. It's on Amazon. I know it looks reversed on camera, but it's Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema, Filmmakers, Actors, and the Future of AI in Film. So this is the book I wrote. I come from a long line of family members that write books. My grandpa writes books. My grandpa is turning 100 years old next year. It's pretty insane. My brother writes books. I write a book. I'm going to write more books. And we actually have, tracing our family bloodline to the Italians, we have a very well known famous writer in our family line. His name is Giovanni Boccaccio, and he wrote the Decameron. It's not like well famous like Shakespeare or something like that, but he's well known in the world of literature. He wrote the Decameron. Supposedly, we're related. I've never done the actual what do you call it, like DNA test or whatever. Gotcha, Steve. Yeah. Aha. I got you. I've experienced some poverty, but I decided to just go back to my parents. Um, and I know some people don't have that luxury. And it's not like my parents are super rich or anything, but I would say lower middle class. And I don't know. We just, I like family. I'm a family guy. I never met the right woman to start a family of my own. The cancers I had took away my ability to have kids, so that made it harder. I went through my own like episodes of depression that really set me back. And then finally I snapped out of it, and I've done better since. I've been very productive, proactive, all those things. But I know it can be very difficult for a lot of people. Steve says, met a woman that wrote a book that was picked up for a big movie. Told when I met her she was collecting some sort of unemployment. Oh, wow. So there you go. It just takes one deal. And maybe when I'm 50, maybe when I'm 60, I'll make that deal. But like I said, I don't, I don't hate the life that I have. I love the life that I have. And after going through cancers, I very much appreciate life. I can tell you that much. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna talk for you, Steve, because I can't say that I've been completely homeless or been in a bad situation like that. I did for a little bit, but that was enough for me to go. Okay, I'm going back to my parents. Um, and I just been chasing my dreams. Been chasing my dreams, trying to catch up to them, if you will, trying to outpace my dreams. Outrun my dreams. That's the goal, is to not chase your dreams, but just completely outrun them. Jay says the internet needs more people like you, Lasso. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, the internet, YouTube, it's filled with a lot of narcissists, I will say. And I maybe we all have a little bit in that. I think I have a little bit of a narcissist, but not like where I push people aside or try to outshine people. I just try to do my thing. She lived on Sunset Boulevard, not from Beverly Hills, but I don't know who was paying the rent where she lived. That's the place to be, right? If I'm going to be a filmmaker and screenwriter and actor, I need to go to California. But all my friends did that, and they're not necessarily doing that great. So, I've been lucky here in Oklahoma. Uh, Lucky that I've had big movie companies come here to Oklahoma. I worked on Stillwater, starring Matt Damon. I got to meet him. I worked on Killers of Flower Moon. Scorsese directed that. He's my biggest film director hero. So a lot of my dreams come true. I've always wanted to meet him. Worked on his movie, and I got to do it. I wanted to write a book, and I did. I wanted to write a script, and I did. I wrote multiple scripts. I wanted to shoot a movie, and I did. So a lot of my dreams, I just got to be more specific about my dreams. Like, okay, my next dream is to direct a Hollywood big, huge budget movie with like A-list celebrities, top crew, top producers. That's the dream, ultimately. To do that is like making it in the NFL, essentially. That's like making it, right? Big time. I mean, that is a dream I have. But a lot of my dreams were like, I want to do it. I want to make the movie. I want to produce. I want to write. And I did all those things. Now the dream is get hired as a director. Direct a movie with the top people in the industry. So we'll see what happens. Um, not far from BH, Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills, that's where I want to be. um, what's that song? Weezer. Steve says, went out with a relative of Clark, is it Gables? From Gone with the Wind. She had dark hair and blue eyes. She was attractive. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's always neat. It's always neat when you come across a celebrity. It feels very unreal. It feels like, somebody you watched growing up, or, when you meet them, it is so surreal. You just cannot believe they're right there in front of you. It's very surreal because of all the places they can be, right? They're right there in front of you. So yeah, they always make for little great side stories. Ah, gotcha. But I don't know. This live has gone on for a long while. I may have to wrap it up here. Um, I think I'm gonna try to do these just nonchalant conversations, like every weekend, like every Saturday, and the rest I'm gonna focus on movie reviews and doing shorts, like interesting things that I can find. But glad to meet you, Steve. Glad to have a little conversation. I hope we can continue the conversation next weekend. I'll try to go on around the same time. We can talk about whatever. I'm not very judgmental. I'm not. I may have my beliefs, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge anyone for their experience, their journey, and their beliefs. Even if we don't agree, we butt heads. I'm not going to think less of anyone, or, what I'm saying. But, I will be critical. I will be critical. Hey, at least you're honest. Cool, man. Cool, Steve. Good to meet you. Um, yeah, good to meet you, Steve. And anyone else here? Ahmed from Middle East. Very interesting. Like I said, when you get on the YouTubes, and I only do YouTube. I don't do TikTok. I don't do Tweet. I don't do Rumble. Everyone's like, you should do it. You should do it. I'm like, no, no, I'm okay. Like I do other things that take my time, and I do like my downtime as well. And I don't want to spend my life, you know, doing social media. Like that doesn't sound fun to me, having to hop on the different things and try to reach people. I'm okay. I'm okay with this pace. I'm okay with the one channel. This is it. This is me. This is what you get. But I mean, kudos to those people who take it so professional, and they do all the other social medias. But I've also have my critique of algorithm and echo chambers, and that kind of thing. I almost feel like social media can kind of brainwash people to their own delusions or their own take on reality, and sometimes it just makes them sink in even more to those ideas. That's my only critique about that. Again, I don't want to judge people. Um, Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for joining me. My name's Lasso. I'm Oklahoma's India tour, and I say that pridefully because I'm the only one in Oklahoma, the only Oklahoma filmmaker who's ever won that award. Now there was a female, but she moved out of state. I'm the only one who's won it and actually is in the state, and still doing movies here in the state. And I got nominated again this year, so I'm I'm a rare one of those rare ones. That's That's like my label. Everyone gets to choose kind of their thing, and this is my thing. So, anyways, yeah, it's been a pleasure, folks. If you're interested in my movie reviews, I'll post one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in the meantime, just kind of post random stuff that I find interesting. Okay, I'll leave it there, folks. I'll leave it there, and I'll say adieu, adieu, mon ami, and we'll see you on the next one, hopefully. So peace out, everybody. Have a good day.